Here's what I see over and over again when we do video strategy work with institutions. The admissions team, the people that are doing the most direct, personal, influential communication with prospective students, they often don't have easy access to the video content that could help them do their jobs better. So think about that. You've got people on the front lines having these high stakes conversations with students who are on the fence, and they may not even know that a perfect video exists that speaks directly to the question that the student just asked. That's a leak, but it's a fixable one. Hey, welcome to the Higher Ed Storytelling University podcast, a show where we bring together Marcom leaders from both inside and outside higher ed to give you fresh perspectives on successful content creation and strategy in higher education. My name is John Azoni. I'm the founder of Unveiled, a video production company working specifically with colleges and universities. Learn more about our work, including our subscription approach to storytelling at unveiled.tv. That's UNVEILD. And if you like this podcast, then you'll love the Higher Ed Storytellers Digest. It's my free weekly newsletter where we cover a lot of ground about content creation and strategy. Sign up at unveiled.tv/newsletter. All right, let's get on with the show. Well, hey folks, today I want to talk about something that's been coming up a lot lately in the strategy work that we've been doing with colleges and universities. And it feels especially urgent right now because, if you're listening to this in real time, we're in the middle of March, which is right in the middle of yield season. And so students have been admitted, they're deciding. And right now, today, students are leaking out of your enrollment funnel. Not because your school isn't a great fit or because you don't have great content, but because the right content just isn't getting to the right student at the right moment. And I think there's a fix that most schools could implement, honestly, in a single afternoon without a whole lot of hoopla and budget approvals and all that stuff. So let's just get right into it. Here's what I see over and over again when we do video strategy work with institutions. You've got a social media team or a social media person who is out there, they're doing great work. They're following the trends. They're making reels, they're doing dorm tours, they're capturing the culture on campus. Maybe you've got, a set of student interns doing that or student ambassadors, whatever the case, but good stuff, really authentic stuff, the kind of stuff that really resonates with prospective students. Then you've got your broader Marcom team managing maybe the YouTube channel, producing the longer form videos, embedding content into email campaigns, handling the website, also doing great stuff. And then you've got admissions, the counselors, the high school reps, the student ambassadors, and they're doing all the campus tours. And then these are the people on the front lines, and they're having these one-on-one conversations with prospective students every single day. But here's the problem. Those three groups are often operating in complete silos. The social media team doesn't necessarily know what the Marcom team is doing. The Marcom team really isn't cross-pollinating with the social media team content and sharing content back and forth. Marcom may not have a clear window into what admissions counselors are actually hearing from students. And the admissions team, the people that are doing the most direct, personal, influential communication with prospective students, they often don't have easy access to the video content that could help them do their jobs better. So think about that. You've got people on the front lines having these high stakes conversations with students who are on the fence, and they may not even know that a perfect video exists that speaks directly to the question that the student just asked. That's a leak, but it's a fixable one. And to get specific about the stakes here, yield season is not the time for this vague strategy talk, right? When a student doesn't enroll, it might not be because they made some big dramatic decision to go somewhere else. It could be very simple. It could be a very small thing that made a big impact. They start to feel uncertain, or they have questions that aren't getting answered quickly enough or thoroughly enough or in a format that actually resonates with them. And then another school comes along and does a slightly better job of making them feel seen and informed and excited. And that's where they go. And that was precisely my experience when I was looking at colleges as a high school senior. The year was 2002. I was looking at art schools. I was between the Art Institute of Chicago and the Maryland Institute College of Art. I visited Chicago first, totally thought that was a done deal. That's where I wanted to go. I wanted to be in that big city environment. Chipotle was just coming out at the time when I did a campus visit. I had Chipotle for the first time in my life, and I was a changed man. I mean, oh my God, I've never tasted a fast food style burrito like that before. It changed my life. So much so that I emailed Chipotle headquarters and said, please come to Detroit. And they said, say less. We're in the process of opening some locations in Detroit. Great. Anyway, but the point is, I thought Chicago was it for me. But then my dad was like, hey, let's just go check out this school in Baltimore. Let's just to see. If anything, it'll be a fun, trip that we can take. And then simultaneously, I was in contact with a rep that had come to my high school from MICA, Maryland Institute College of Art, who I felt took a great interest in me. And I was really impressed by that. They just felt like she knew me and was following my work and really wanted me to go there. And she really made me feel seen. So they had that in their corner. But we visited Maryland. The cherry blossoms were in bloom. The campus vibe was great. I was sold. I didn't expect to be sold, but I was totally sold. The weather had a lot to do with it. I decided to go to MICA. But I think back on that time about how impressionable I was. It just took one or two levers that MICA pulled to get me to completely change course. And in that impressionable time, stories could make all the difference in our video saturated culture. We didn't have online videos back then, 2002. The high school rep that really engaged with me, I ended up asking her, a bunch of questions. Her responses really helped me out in the process. So imagine if that experience was amplified even more with video content that I could go down a rabbit hole watching and, put the icing on the cake of how she was nurturing that relationship with me. So in the post-admit process, there's a lot of focus on email sequences, automations, financial aid packages, campus visits, all that stuff. All of that matters. I mean, the campus visit was a big deal for me. For MICA, that was a big deciding factor. But video is this massively underutilized asset in that process, especially in one-to-one communication. And I want to spend the rest of this episode explaining exactly what I mean by this. And I want to give you a resource that I put together that I think can quickly and effectively bridge this gap to make sure people in those one-to-one scenarios with students have all the video content they need to do their jobs even better. So most of the time when a Marcom team thinks about video performance, they're thinking about broadcast metrics. How many views did a video get on YouTube or Instagram or Facebook? How many likes, how many, comments, all that stuff. And those metrics matter, and I'm not dismissing them at all because they are good, top of funnel metrics to be tracking. And you should absolutely be optimizing for the algorithm. Give the algorithm everything it needs to understand, who this content is for and get it in front of the right people and get it in front of the right audience. Yes, all of that, do that. But what I want to challenge you on is broadcast metrics only tell part of the story. And sometimes they actually obscure a really important part of the conversation. What if a video only got 5 views? We would look at that and go, this video was a flop. If we saw that on Instagram or something like that, most people would say total flop. Nobody liked it. But what if those 5 views were because an admissions counselor hand delivered that link to 5 students who were on the fence about affordability or something like that, and it helped shift the conversation for 3 out of 5 of them? Are those 5 views a failure? Or are they some of the most valuable 5 views that video will ever get? And so that's the shift we need to make. We need to think about video not just as a broadcasting tool, but as a one-to-one communication tool that can really amplify the one-to-one efforts that we're having and really amplify that experience of nurturing that student. And when you start thinking about it that way, your whole approach to how to organize and share and measure your content has to evolve. You have to stop being the broadcaster. You have to also be the algorithm. You have to hand deliver the right content to the right person at the right moment. So what does that look like in practice? Here is the minimum viable product, the MVP that I'm suggesting you take and run with. And it's just a Google Doc. Seriously. And I know that feels underwhelming and like unprestigious or uninstitutional or something. And there's bigger digital asset management systems out there like Binder, Photo Shelter, All of those are great. And if you can get institutional buy-in and budget for a proper dam system, absolutely do that. That's the best case scenario. But those require these enterprise level investments and implementation, and that's not happening this week during yield season. What can happen this week, though, is a simple, organized content library that your admissions counselors, your high school reps, and student ambassadors can access and use. So here's the concept. You just go through all of your video content. So look at YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever you have videos, whatever platforms, and you map it. You flag every video that could be useful to a prospective student who is asking a specific question during the enrollment process, and you organize it by the question it answers. And that's it. Pretty simple. Have you ever watched an Olympic relay race? Did you see the one where the runner passed the baton to the next runner who grabbed it and then just walked off the track? Don't worry if you haven't seen it, because it doesn't exist, because that would never happen. And if it did, it would surely go viral because it would be such a bizarre moment in sports history. Folks, this is how so many colleges are operating with their videos. The videographer hands them the finished video, and then maybe they take a couple steps and post it to YouTube with a vague title, or they'll toss it in an email or two. But that's about where they stop and move on to the next thing. And when you lack a clear plan for distribution, it's hard to know where the finish line is. And so you stop way short of the goal, and only a fraction of your audience has an opportunity to see your video. Distribution is just one of the things we address in our strategy workshops. Not only are we going to help you figure out what videos you should be making, but we're going to show you exactly what to do with those videos when they're done. And all of this is built around you and your resources. So we're not going to hand you a plan that's unrealistic for your team, nor are we going to try to sell you a bunch of videos. Learn more at unveiled.tv/strategy, and on that page you can flip through a real strategy blueprint that we made for a client. All right, let's go back to the show. Strategically. So let me give you some concrete examples of how an admissions counselor might actually use something like this. So a student reaches out and says they're worried about affordability. Like, instead of sending a boilerplate email about financial aid resources, the counselor can pull up this content library, this little Google Doc cheat sheet, and send a personal note. Hey, I wanted to share this. This student had the same concerns you're describing, and I think hearing her perspective might be helpful. Here's her story. Boom. That's a warm, human, specific response powered by content that already exists. Or a high school rep is at a college fair. They're talking to a senior who's undecided about their major. They pull up a story about a student who came in completely undecided and found their direction through the school's advising program. And they say, hey, let me text you this real quick. What's your number? That's not a brochure. That's a person's story delivered at the exact right moment when it's relevant to that person. You're not hoping the algorithm is going to find that person at the right moment asking that question. You got to be the algorithm. Another example could be like student ambassadors wrapping up a campus tour, and someone asks, hey, what is the dorm life actually like? Instead of just answering verbally, they can say, hey, actually, we have a couple dorm room tours on Instagram that are pretty fun. So let me send you those. You can kind of see more intimately than we were able to go through in today's tour, what the dorm experience is like, what they look like on the inside, how people are structuring their beds and whatever else. And they have those links because someone built a library. And this is what I mean by hand delivering the right content at the right moment. It's not complicated. It just requires somebody to take a few hours and build the map. So let me walk you through how to actually structure this document, because I think the format really matters. I personally prefer to build this in a Google Doc rather than a spreadsheet. I personally find spreadsheets to be very wonky when you have a lot of text and a lot of, more than just some simple numbers or whatever in each cell. So a Google Doc with tables organized by category, it personally tends to be easier to navigate and share and add to. Each section of the document corresponds to a category of student concern. And with each section, you've got a simple table with a few columns. So column 1, you'd have the student's question. So not a vague topic, but a specific question. Is this school too expensive for my family? Or will I make friends if I'm shy? Or can I actually play if I join a sports team? Or will I just sit on the bench? They might not be explicitly verbally asking those questions, but a human will be able to say, hey, this is what they're concerned about right now. and go to that row in the document. Column 2 is the video asset. So the title and a brief description of what the video covers. Column 3 would be the shareable link, the YouTube link, Instagram link, wherever the video lives. This is what you send to students. And then column 4 is the original file link. This is important. Don't neglect this. So a Dropbox, Google Drive, or if you're using Box or some sort of institutional file sharing thing, link to the actual video file. This part might take a little bit of legwork to track down the original file from whoever made it, whoever has it on their phone or something like that from the social team, or on some random hard drive, from the video team or whatever. But do that work, because if an admissions counselor is, say, presenting in person, you don't want to be relying on a YouTube link and a spotty Wi-Fi connection, that could possibly interfere with that engagement. If someone's managing, say, a lobby display or setting up a screen at a college fair, like a monitor or something like that, they're going to need the original file. So make it easy for them to use this content in a way that it's best used. If someone wants to take a video and post it to their personal LinkedIn, for instance, they're going to get way better luck in the algorithm not posting a link to YouTube, but uploading the original video file to their post. So that's a big mistake. I mean, I see so many people on LinkedIn just posting YouTube links, and the algorithm will just tank that. They'll hide it because they don't want to send people to YouTube. So upload the original file to LinkedIn or Facebook or whatever it is. And then column 5 could be a suggested copy. So a few sentences admissions counselors or student ambassadors or whatever could use to introduce the video in an email or a text. Don't make people figure out how to position the content. Give them a starting point. That removes friction and increases the chances that they'll actually use it. So a lot of this process is just like, how do we remove friction from sharing this content? And then you just repeat that structure for each category. So here's a rough category list to get you started. For example, tuition, financial aid, and value for cost-conscious families. Another one would be student outcomes and career readiness for students thinking about what comes after college. Another one, campus culture and student experience. So what's the vibe like? What's the social life like? What do weekends actually look like? Another category, academic programs, mentorship and support. So for students who are anxious about rigor or fit. Another one, extracurriculars and campus involvement. So for students maybe wondering if they'll find their people. Those aren't the only categories. Your students, what questions come up in every single counselor conversation. So let those questions drive the categories. I built a boilerplate Google Doc template that you can access for free, and you can get it at unveiled.tv/strategy toolbox. So I hope that you check it out, go there, take it, copy, paste it into an editable document on your end so that you can make it your own. Now, I want to come back to the measurement question, because I think it's actually one of the most important changes we can make in our thinking. So right now, so many institutions are measuring video performance entirely through these broadcast metrics, like I said. But if that's the only lens you're using, you're missing a whole dimension of how video actually drives enrollment. So here's what I challenge you to add to your measurement mix. Talk to your admissions counselors. Ask them, when you share a video one-on-one with a student, what happens? Did they watch it? Did it help? Did it answer the question? Did it come up again in a follow-up conversation? This doesn't require any sort of sophisticated back-end analytics platform. It can be as simple as a counselor following up with a student and asking, hey, did you get a chance to watch that video I sent? Did it help? Yes or no? That's a data point. That's a trackable result. And you can also track click-through rates. If you're including video links in your email nurture sequences, you can look at watch rate. How much of the video did they actually watch before dropping off? These are signals that tell you whether the content is connecting. But the bigger point is, if your measurement system only includes the people who happen to find your content through an algorithm, and it excludes the students who received it directly from a counselor or an ambassador at exactly the right moment, you are undervaluing your video content so much, significantly. The most important views your video might ever get might never show up in your YouTube analytics dashboard. So let's talk about implementation. What does this take, honestly, to implement? I think it's like a few hours. Some internal conversation, and someone just willing to own it. I genuinely think that you could have a working version of this library up and running in 3 to 4 hours. Pull up your YouTube channel, go through your Instagram feed, flag the content that could serve prospective students asking real questions, and start dropping it into the document. And to save time on tracking down those video files, you can download, there's like, if you Google like Instagram Reel Downloader or something like that, or TikTok Downloader, there's tools out there that you can just paste the link in there, watch a quick ad, and then it will give you the full res download link that you can download, and then you have the file. There's a tool called Clip Grab, which you can plug in a YouTube link, and unless they have it blocked through some sort of setting on the back end, it will download that video file. And so you can use that for any sort of internal videos that you want to download from your YouTube channel without having to go track the original file down and slow this whole process down. The other thing I'd strongly encourage you to do is loop in your admissions counselors early. So not after you've built the whole thing, but before. Ask them the questions that they're getting the most. Ask them where they feel they're coming up short in terms of resources. They're the ones on the front lines. They know exactly what students are wrestling with. Their input should really drive what goes in the library, and then share it. Admissions counselors, high school reps, student ambassadors doing tours, everyone who is having direct conversations with prospective students should have the link to this Google document, this cheat sheet, as I call it. And then communicate. Marcom and admissions need to actually talk to each other. The social team needs to know what they're creating that's being used downstream and how effective it is. Because if it's helpful, they should be doubling down on that stuff and making more of it. There's probably great Instagram videos sitting in your feed right now that an admissions counselor has never seen that would be perfect for a student asking about campus culture or something, for instance. So just bridge that gap. So that's the idea. It's not glamorous. You can start with a Google Doc. You can make it fancy later. It's not some fancy, flashy new piece of technology that has to go through purchasing and all this stuff. It's just a better way of organizing and sharing what you already have. You've put time and money and creative energy into making this video content. So the goal of this exercise is to make sure that the content's actually working for you, and it's not just at the mercy of the algorithm, because the algorithm is not your friend. The algorithm's purpose is to make more money for the company that built the model. It's not to make you money. So be the algorithm. Be in real human conversations with students and get your video content to them when they need it most. So again, you can get this template for free at unveiled.tv/strategy toolbox. Unveiled is spelled UNVEILD. It's a simple boilerplate Google Doc structured the way I described it with, categories and tables, all of that. Just copy and paste it into an editable document on your end and make it your own and share it with the right people. Just start there. So if you found this episode useful, share it with a colleague in admissions or Marcom. This is exactly the kind of conversation that needs to be happening across those teams, not just within them. If you take me up on this suggestion, I'd love to hear about it, and I'd love to see your version of the document. So email me at john@unveiled.tv and let me see what you come up with. All right, thanks. Hey, thanks for listening. I want to give you 2 things before you go. Number 1, reminder to sign up for the Higher Ed Storytellers Digest. It's my free weekly newsletter for Marcom leaders where we talk about all things content creation and strategy in higher ed. Subscribe at unveiled.tv/newsletter. Number 2, follow me on LinkedIn. If you're searching for me, my name is John Azoni, and it's spelled JOHNAZONI. All right, I'll catch you on the next episode, and in the meantime, I'll see you in your inbox. Okay, bye.